Daytona has multiple reputations: the beaches, the weather, NASCAR.
Huge crowds poured into Daytona International Speedway, where the grandstands hold more than 100,000 people.
One of Daytona's nicknames is the world's most famous beach.
Though Daytona Beach often advertises itself as a family destination, it's also a hot spot for college kids to hang out, especially this time of year.
Spring breakers have traditionally, Daytona Beach has been one of their top destinations.
It's hot and the people are awesome. Everyone's really nice.
You can find people from every walk of life in Daytona Beach. Laquita Gunter is a resident of the city of Daytona Beach.
She was very smart, and very outgoing.
There was a homeless gentleman by the nickname of Rooster. He was confined to a wheelchair, and anytime Laquita would see Rooster, she would go out of her way to help him.
She was tough. She didn't take anything from anybody, which is sometimes not good.
Unfortunately, Daytona Beach also has a seedier side. Ridgewood Avenue, it runs north to south. It's actually part of the road that runs from Key West up to Maine. It's a place where narcotics are readily available.
Many struggling with homelessness, addiction, mental health issues are regularly out here.
It's known for prostitution. Just people who have fallen on hard times really have nowhere else to go. Laquita Gunter frequents that area around Ridgewood, Madison Avenue. She did engage in prostitution from time to time.
I just didn't agree with her lifestyle, and she thought I was square, so there you go. Which I probably was. Back then, I was right is right and wrong's wrong, you know. We just disagreed.
There was a local bar called Chubby's in the 600 block of North Beach Street, and she was well known at Chubby's. Laquita has a conversation with her friend Stacy Dittmer. They were discussing getting together to start preparing Christmas dinner, and Laquita told her that she would do that, but first she wanted to go to Chubby's. Stacy Dittmer waited up until approximately 1 a.m. Christmas morning for Laquita to show up, but unfortunately she never made it there. December 26th, 2005. There was a gentleman going to a auto parts store right at the corner of Beach Street and Madison Avenue. There was a little alley separating the auto parts store with the next building, and he found Miss Gunter's body.
Laquita Gunter was found naked, shot in the head in a narrow alleyway off Ridgewood Avenue, not far from her haunts.
She was found on her knees, face down. She was naked. Except for she was wearing a pair of socks. Male sperm was found inside of her mouth. She had what appeared to be a gunshot wound to the back of her head.
It didn't matter what she did in her life. She was a human being, and you had no right taking her life. Who gave you to make yourself God?
It's not something you believe. Nobody deserves that.
In reference to Laquita Gunter's murder, it's these two boxes on the bottom here. Miss Gunter's body was found. I think the theory was that maybe it was something personal, either personally directed towards Miss Gunter, or that she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Julie Green was friends with Laquita Gunter. She was another woman who did odd jobs here and there, but then she also struggled with alcohol and drug addiction, and from time to time turned to prostitution to make ends meet. So the night of January 13th, 2006, Julie Green was hanging out with her boyfriend. It was around 8 p.m. that night. She told her boyfriend that she was going to go walk down to the store to use a payphone to call her dad, and that she said that she would be back. So Julie left the residence. Unfortunately, never made it back.
Julie Green was found murdered, shot in the head.
The scene was similar to Laquita Gunter's scene. She was found face down. She was found naked as well. She also appeared to have been shot once in the back of the head. Julie Green's murder is covered in this box right here, and then this box right here. With Julie Green, we did recover ballistic evidence. A spent shell casing was recovered, as well as the projectile that was used to execute Miss Green. Based on that evidence, it was believed that a .40 caliber handgun was used. With the murder of Julie Green, anyone else engaged in prostitution, it would probably make them think that could they be next. Someone called anonymously from a payphone saying that they were out for a walk and found the body of a deceased person.
Iwana Patton's body had been found in a wooded lot.
Miss Patton's naked, found only wearing socks. And then like Laquita Gunther and Julie Green, Miss Patton was also shot once in the head.
She was totally caught off guard in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Iwana Patton had just moved down here from New York, and she had actually moved down here to help a family member.
She devoted her life to caring for individuals. She was a caregiver, a nursing assistant. She worked 2 jobs.
With her time in Florida, there's no indication that she was a sex worker.
Police matched ballistics, a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson, and/or DNA to conclude one man, the same man, was the killer.
With the third victim, it was clear that we had a serial killer in Daytona Beach. His body was found. It was pretty clear that we were dealing with a serial killer.
He has a very volatile temper.
An FBI profiler described a middle-aged white male living a suburban life, likely a family man, with a dark side.
Thousands of people were questioned. Anyone arrested for soliciting a prostitute, that male would be questioned, requested that person provide a DNA sample. A lot of times it was just people calling in.
Stacy was having everybody in her house to drink a beer. She ran it right down to the police station for DNA. And people you wouldn't have in your house normally, just to get a DNA sample.
Another angle that was important to this case was the gun. We knew what kind of gun we were looking for, and it was a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson Model VE. One of the things the detectives worked on was they reached out to all the gun shops in the area and tried to get a list of individuals who bought that certain make and model handgun. A serial killer was something you read about in a book or a fictional TV show or a movie, but it wasn't anything I ever thought I would deal with personally.
Over the weekend, police arrested a man working at the Homeless Coalition, a place frequented by at least 2 of the women who were killed. 3 women were shot to death in remote areas between December of 2005 and February 2006. 56-year-old David Lindsay was wanted for murder in Illinois. By virtue of his proximity, authorities say they have to call Lindsay a person of interest too.
The initial thinking was that we've got our guy. But unfortunately, that didn't last long.
The evidence gathered so far suggests he's not the serial killer.
We were able to obtain a DNA sample, and it ruled him out as being our killer. This box here is Iwana Patton. This is Iwana Patton. This box, this box, this box. Once the third homicide happened, they kind of just started working it as one homicide when they realized they were working with a serial killer. After Lindsay was cleared, the killings appeared to stop. There was a lot of different theories, and definitely as time went on, did the person die? Did he stop? Did he move away? Whether or not this was over, it was always a possibility, but serial killers don't just seem to stop. On January 2nd, 2008, a Daytona Beach police officer was working in the middle of his shift. He drove to the site of an abandoned church.
A passing police officer on the TV check smelled something foul, perhaps only because of the wind.
Ended up being the body of a female, Stacy Gage.
She went out to meet somebody. And that person she went to meet is who killed her.
Stacy Gage had gone missing sometime around December 11th, 2007. She had borrowed her grandmother's minivan and said that she was going to the store to buy ice and that she would return. Like the other victims, she never returned.
Stacy Gage's body was dumped in a remote area, these woods behind me, well away from the nearest street. Ballistics and DNA absolutely link the first 3 killings, but police have not said the same thing about Gage or this crime scene.
Stacy Gage was a very beloved waitress in the area, but she also had alcohol and drug problems.
Stacy Gage's family has suggested the night she ran out for ice, Stacy may have fallen back into old drug habits. They have always rejected the notion that she was prostituting.
I don't think she would have let a stranger voluntarily let a stranger get in the car.
Authorities still believe the killer walks the streets, and women should remain on guard. Tomorrow, an official serial killer task force will be established.
Every night, what I want him to know is we're one day closer to getting him. Every single night when he lays his head down, he's got to be wondering if the SWAT team's coming through the door.
Police are also working with a profiler from FDLE. He is guiding them, and he suggests that the killer has blended in so well, we will all be shocked when he is finally identified. Police Chief Mike Chitwood admits he is frustrated. A killer hasn't been caught, but he is no less confident.
DNA, quite frankly, is what's going to make or break this case.
We biologically know who he is. We just need a name, and that's the most frustrating part about it.
Going through every piece of evidence, every interview, every lead to see if there's something that was missed. So at least there's still work that's going on.
You want to try everything, because we're dealing with obviously a very dangerous person who's already killed at least 3, maybe 4 people. We don't want anyone else to fall victim to this person. At least one psychic was consulted. Consulting a psychic is definitely out of the norm. I've never seen one used other than in this case. It's one of those things, if anyone comes up with an idea, what's the worst that can happen?
They've identified thousands of possible suspects, but so far he's elusive, as is closure for friends and family.
It's always with you. It's never gonna leave.
When I took over in 2015, with it being, 10 years since Laquita Gunther was killed, 9 years since Julie Green and Juana Patton, 7 years from Stacy Gage, there was a lot of discussion as to whether or not the suspect had died, never be able to identify him.
I pray every night that he doesn't kill anybody else, but I hope he's still alive because I want to be able to catch him.
I told the police that I can't believe he didn't do anything in all those years. There's got to be other people. You don't just stop.
We always say in police work, sometimes it's better just to be lucky. Better to be lucky than good. I have no doubt that everyone who worked on this case was good. We just needed to get lucky.
Officials with the Daytona Beach Police Department, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, and State Attorney R.J. Larissa have announced a news conference happening at 10 o'clock this morning to announce this major development.
Good morning. Thanks for coming today. We have some breaking news in the Daytona serial killer case.
The 4 victims, Laquita Gunther, Julie Green, Iwana Patton, and Stacy Gage, were found shot to death between December 2005 and January 2008. And at that time, police said the suspect's DNA was in the national database, so they could match it if he were to be caught committing another crime anywhere else in the country.
In March of 2016, Palm Beach County had a similar type of murder in their jurisdiction. They located male DNA on their case. Evidence came back, and through some other forensic means and some investigative skills, we were actually able to develop a suspect. Suspect's name is Robert Tyrone Hayes. We have linked him through forensic evidence to 3 of our murder victims.
Police say the suspect, Robert Hayes, was a Bethune-Cookman University student at the time of the Daytona Beach serial killings and actually purchased the same kind of gun used in those killings at a local gun shop. Though an early law enforcement profile suggested the Daytona Beach serial killer was a middle-aged white male, police actually interviewed Robert Hayes back in 2006 while still a BCU student because he bought a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson.
We were looking at the gun purchases at Buck's Gun Rack, and he had purchased the gun there. And then we were looking at interviewing everybody who bought that particular gun at the time.
He admitted to purchasing the gun at Buck's Gun Rack, but he said that he had given the firearm to his mother in Palm Beach County for her protection. He ends up, after that, reporting the gun stolen back in Palm Beach County in Riviera Beach.
I'm not a policeman. I don't know what they have to have, but they had DNA. Plenty of it.
It was difficult because back then, for months on end, they were talking to multiple people a day. Nothing with Mr. Hayes, raised any red flags.
In Hayes' case, genetic genealogy was the specific tool that pointed the finger.
We entered our unknown subject's DNA into a genetic genealogy website database and came up with very distant relative of our subject. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement started their own genetic genealogy unit, scouring old records, obituaries, newspaper clippings, pretty much just built out a huge family tree. Little by little, we got a little bit closer to the family. The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office was conducting surveillance on Robert Hayes on a Friday in September in 2019. This unit saw him leave his apartment and wait for a city bus. While waiting at the bus stop, he was smoking a cigarette and drinking a can of beer. As the bus comes to the bus stop, he discards the cigarette and the can of beer and gets on the bus and drives away. This unit was able to go in and collect both of those items.
To be quite frank with you, sir, we have irrefutable scientific evidence that establishes that you know her. Not only did you know her, you had sex with her.
Both of those items were then shipped to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, where the next day we were finally told after 14 years we had our guy.
The trial of a man accused of being the Daytona Beach serial killer is underway.
Prosecutors tell us that this case really hinges on DNA and ballistics.
Back in 2006, when Robert Hayes was contacted, he did say, he gave the gun to his mother, Florence Hayes. When Robert Hayes was arrested, we had detectives, both from the Daytona Beach Police Department and the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, make contact and interview his mother before she, realized that he was arrested. One of the questions that she was asked was, did your son Robert, did he ever give you a gun? And she absolutely denied that ever happened.
Your common sense does not get left outside the courtroom. And common sense says one thing. He lied about the gun because he knew what the police were investigating. He knew why they were there. He knew why they were looking for this gun. And he knew if he gave up that gun, that was it.
I think we all felt good, but we all, in the back of our mind, juries are also unpredictable.
Robert Hayes stood in this Volusia County courtroom listening to jurors as they read his fate.
We, the jury, find the defendant Robert Tyrone Hayes as follows. Count 1, first-degree premeditated murder of Laquita Gunther. Section 1, guilty of first-degree murder.
He was found guilty on all 3 counts of premeditated first-degree murder of 3 women in separate cases between 2005 and 2006.
At the time, a vote for the death penalty had to be unanimous, and at the conclusion of their deliberations, the jury voted 11-1 in favor of the death penalty for Mr. Hayes. But because it wasn't unanimous, he received 3 automatic life sentences.
He'll suffer more by spending the rest of his life in prison. It's not a pleasant place to be, and that's better as far as I'm concerned. I want to know why. Nobody seems to know that. The guy was in college when that happened. What possessed him to do that? There's some reason. That's what I'd like to know.
I thought this would go unsolved forever. Honestly, I thought this would be a cold case.
I actually don't like the term cold case. I like to say open. We'll never give up on any of our victims.
To this day, friends mark the anniversary of the murder of that first victim with flowers and a holiday wreath. Laquita Gunther's body was found wedged between 2 buildings. Back then, no one could have imagined it was the work of a serial killer.
We went over there and had a memorial on Christmas Eve at this site, which wasn't easy. But I don't do Christmas anymore. Not since then. I gave away all my Christmas stuff.
Unfortunately, nothing we do is ever going to bring back their loved one. We still have that hole of losing 4 people in the community. None of these victims deserved what happened to them.
You can't understand it. You have to experience it. People can tell you they're sorry. They don't know. You never get over that.